Hi YouTube, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can find me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Yes, we just got, my boy and I just got back from a straight razor meet yesterday down in Denver. Had an amazing time, took the scope, the TV, the camera, a couple of razors, some stones and everything. Had a good time chatting with the guys. We honed a couple of razors. Spent a lot of time looking at edges up underneath the microscope, which is why this is out. But today, first of all, this video is not going to be on, well, I guess maybe kind of razors. So I've been getting into to burl, okay? I was never really a big fan of burl because of the high cost of it. I mean, you know, a block of really nice burl wood that's been stabilized and everything, that's an inch thick, 1.5 inches wide, and 5 inches long, from one of the big suppliers like Burl Source or K&G, some of those guys. Now it's amazing wood, don't get me wrong, but you know, one block like that can run $30 to $80 for a single block of wood. And so you know, I worked with burl. I mean, I've worked with it a couple of times on customs when people have ordered it, but it's not something that I generally put on my knives just because of the high cost of the handle material. And yeah, that's why I never really worked with it. But I had a couple of trees I needed to take down, and they had big burls on the sides of them. And then I found a ginormous cottonwood trunk. I kid you not, this thing is probably at least 5 foot diameter, maybe 5.5 foot, and 5 foot tall or so, and it was in a buddy's wood pile. And I asked him what he was going to do with that trunk of that tree, and he said, well, he was just going to cut it up and use it for firewood. So I ended up trading him. I sharpened 2 chainsaw chains for him and 2 truckloads of regular old firewood for that big old stump, and I've cut some pieces off of it, and it's pretty amazing stuff. So this video is actually going to be on, I just built a dehydrator for drying the wood before I stabilize it, and so I wanted to go over that and show it to you right quick. That way I can go ahead and clean the shop up, put it back in place, get some more videos, and then get back to work tomorrow. So anyway, first of all, I'm gonna show you some of this wood here. These are the knives that I've got to finish up this week, except for this one. This one right here is a pocket knife that I built that has the first piece of burl wood, of this cottonwood burl that I've ever used, and it's pretty amazing looking stuff, and you know, fairly tough. I'm using the cactus juice resin to stabilize it, and it took some tries to get the times, temperatures, and the the dehydrating process down, until it all kind of came together. But some of this stuff looks really dang amazing. I mean, I never would have in 100 years thought that something. We'll just spray it down with some water right quick just to make it pop. Never would have thought that something that's this gorgeous could come from, a cottonwood. I mean, cottonwood's really, they're kind of a majestic tree, but around here a lot of the times they're just kind of a nuisance. They grow really fast, and of course they never grow in the right spot. And so you end up, having to trim them, take them down, and all that kind of stuff. But I never would have dreamed that I could have got wood that looked like this, and I sure hope this shows up on the big screen. This little GoPro's only got like the picture I'm looking at is 1 inch tall and 1.5 inches wide, so I sure hope some of this stuff shows up for you guys. But it's pretty amazing looking stuff. Anyway, so what I had been doing was I took my foundry furnace. I've shot a couple of videos on that, and I built a stand for it on the inside that holds a couple of wire racks, mesh racks, put a light bulb in the bottom of it, and then put a brick to cover most of the hole on the top. And it was doing pretty good. I think it's a 43 watt light bulb, and it was holding about 115 degrees temperature inside that. But if you'll notice this thing, I guess you won't notice until I show it to you, huh? This thing, I mean, it's a foundry furnace. So when I built it, you build these things so that they contain, heat, because you use this thing to melt metals, aluminum, copper, brass, bronze. This one will do iron. So they get really hot. So they've got 2 inches thick lining worth of kale wool, which is a ceramic refractory blanket, and then layered with satinite, which is a refractory clay. So they are insulated to the nines. So I'm going to bring you over here and then take you off of the tripod and then just hand hold you. So what I've got here is the refrigerator out of our old camper, 1970s model camper. So this is an ammonia based refrigerator. And of course it wasn't working, so I had my appliance guy take a look at it, and he said that, yeah, don't even bother with it anymore. So I cut a hole in the back to put a computer fan in it, and then wired the computer fan to a one of these little converters that you use to like charge your cell phone. This one's a 120 volt or 110 to 120 volt input. Output is 6 volts at 400 milliamps, and the fan is a well, the inspection sticker's on the other side, but it's a 12 volt 0.18 milliamp, I think. And then we got a hole in here for the light fixture to go through, and then I wrapped the cord with a lot of electrical tape, so that it'll that sharp edge won't cut through it. Taped it to the top, ran it through a dimmer switch. Let's see here. So the dimmer switch. So we've got this part that's plugged in. I just cut the cord in half, and then I wired the 2 neutrals. I think I wired the 2 neutrals together, and then took one, and of course I already taped it all up, and then took one positive and ran it to the switch, and then the other positive and ran it to the other cord out of the switch, so that it controls the light. What I'm doing right now, and then of course cut a hole in the front, and I can feel air coming out of there. So we open it up, and let's dim that light down so you can see a little bit. So we dim that light bulb down so that you can see it, and you can see the fan is circulating air from there. Hopefully will come up through the stack of wood, and then of course go out the hole in the door. And then I should be able to stack wood in the doors also. Like I said, that's a 43 watt light bulb right now. That was good enough in my foundry furnace to get me up to 110, 115, somewhere around in there. I don't know what it's going to get this up to, so I might have to change out a different bulb. I might have to get a different socket, and wire for it and everything to put more heat in there if I need to. But so the wood is gonna, I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys know what this is gonna happen, but so we'll just stack the wood up here in the shelves, pack as much of it as we can into it. This is some of that cottonwood burl. Get you into the light. That's not a bad piece. And then I've got some box elder. That's not the box elder. Oh, here, I'll just bring you over here. So some of this has got some nice spalting going on in there. I don't know if it's gonna stay with the stabilizing process. The rest of the wood that I cut that was the box elder had this beautiful red spalting all the way through it. Well, not all the way through it, but it had rings of it in there. And the pieces that I cut that that didn't have burl in them, I went ahead and just stacked them up outside, and they turned brown the next day with the sunlight. No, I don't have a piece here. No, wait a minute. Oh, here's a piece. You can probably see some nice burls in it. So it's really pretty wood, and it ought to be an awful lot of fun to play around with this dehydrator. Like I said, I may end up having to play around with the size of light bulb, you know, to be able to get enough heat in there to be able to dry it effectively. But you know, this is going to fit right up underneath my lathe bench, and just sit there and run all the time. The hole's in the front, so I'll be able to see when the light bulb burns out. You can see light in there. I'll be able to see that, be able to walk by and feel that air coming out, just to make sure that it's still working. But anyway, I'm pretty excited about it. It should work out really good, and should be able to store and dry large batches of burl in there to get them ready to stabilize. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll cut you off and we'll start doing the sharpening videos. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time.